Good morning. My name is Ted Clouser, host of Win the Minute, Win the Day, the show that focuses on bringing hope to the chaos. Today, we're doing things a little bit differently. I've got my big brother, Tom, here in person to do today's interview. So Tom has been a dairy farmer in Pennsylvania all of his life. Over the years, he has diversified and dabbled in other ventures such as greenhousing, helping to get a feed mill kicked off from the ground up, winemaking, and for the past several years, providing grain to a local distillery. He is a natural-born leader. He was president of his FFA chapter for 2 years, senior class president, and has led numerous local organizations. My big brother has made an impact on this world, and I'm thankful he's been an example to me as someone who is the hardest working guy I know. Well, welcome to the show, Tom. It's an honor to have you.
Thanks for having me, Ted. I don't know if I can live up to all those kind words.
No problem. You can. Well, what's your approach to waking up with a go win the day attitude?
It's funny you use the word waking up with a go win the day attitude because I'm not really ever a morning person. So something I struggled with my whole life in being one of those early morning, hit the ground running kind of people. And the way I've tackled that is because goal setting is always part of my driving force is I try to set those goals the day before. I know my weakness in getting up in the morning and how I'll sometimes stumble around for 5 minutes before I remember what my name is. And so it has been really helpful to me to set those important goals the day before or even longer than that so that I have a plan when I hit the ground to begin to implement that goal.
That's good. Well, the milk market, and obviously I've gotten to see it from afar, but the milk market hasn't changed much in 40 years that you've been doing it. Yet the cost of doing business has increased exponentially. So how do you battle the challenge of having essentially the same income as you did when you started, but paying far more to get it?
That has been a lifelong challenge and something that has been tackled generationally by us on the farm. So me being the third generation operator there, we have for decades realized that the milk industry is changing. And we've done our best to change with it. And for each dairy operator, that change looks different. For us, because of a small and limited amount of acreage, we decided to keep the cow size small and to diversify out into other streams of income. So that even though the dairy became a little tougher as time went on, the financial contribution from the dairy was a smaller percentage of the total operating base. So we were able to weather that storm. Instead of some other dairies decided to tool up or to spend a lot of dollars increasing technology, maybe expand their operation, double, triple their size and try to get ahead of some of this fixed costs. We decided to stay the same or even to shrink it back where it was manageable by just a person or two of the family who had the passion to keep the dairy going, while the rest of us were able to branch into other areas of income and help strengthen the financial base, while at the same time being able to handle the land in a way that we knew and loved, using the cattle to do so.
Yeah, so your success isn't necessarily formed on how large. It's not about how many cows you milked or how big that milk check was.
Absolutely not. And I don't know that anybody's success will be formed on how large they are. Dad has talked different times. Our father's full of sayings, as you well know, and he would often say, it's not how much you make, it's how much you have left. And it doesn't matter what business you're in, if you're running a computer industry or you're milking cows or you're potting flowers. Yeah, you can look at that big gross income, but if you're spending it faster than you're making it and you're going in the hole, it's going to be a struggle surviving. So it's really about focusing on the net, even if your net's very small. And what we've done in the farm is with our diversification is we tend to look at each of these businesses as a satellite or a part of the whole. And so if a business is only making a small amount of net, but it's still netting, it's bearable, to have in the mix. And sometimes even when a business is losing money, you got to look at the long term. The family's been on the farm for since 1961.
Wow.
So do the math.
That's coming up on 60 years, right?
Yeah.
No, 80. Yeah, 60 years.
60 years.
Wow.
So we tend to look at things in the long term. So you can have a business that's losing money maybe 2 or 3 years in a row. It doesn't mean throw it out yet.
Yeah.
So we did give businesses a chance. We look at it over a 5 or 10 year income averaging report to see where it stands.
So it's really not much different from anybody watching that has a business or
Absolutely
owns
not.
a business.
It will apply across the board. It's not unique to dairies. If you're a small business and you just can't get that business to be as profitable as you need it to be, your options are you either get out or you diversify.
Right.
And sometimes diversifying might be the answer if you're really passionate about what you're doing. So, you can have someone who's, baking donuts and the donuts aren't quite making ends meet, but you really have a passion about making donuts. You say, if we get into breakfast sandwiches too, even though we don't like cooking eggs, that might be the thing that throws us back into the black.
Nice.
And you can continue with your diversified, and you can continue with your passion.
So does that mean dairy farming is your passion? Hey, we'll move on. I know that's a hard one to answer, right?
It is enough to keep me in it. I have enjoyed the dairy. In many ways, it has become me. But we have another person in the family who is probably more passionate about the dairy than me. But yeah, I still share that passion. Your passions definitely change over time. As you age, you mature, you change. Almost by the decade, once you get to be an old timer like me, you can look back in your life and see how differently you felt about the same subject 20 years ago compared to how you feel about that subject now.
Well, I know you're old because you told me about your Bob Evans discount. So you've hit it big time. Well, what's a memorable?
Find out, Bob Evans.
I know it. I got a few years ago. So what's a story, a memorable story you can share about how you had to personally go about winning the day?
There are so many, Ted, and I'm going to share one that's really unique and outside of the box. And I'll have to do this. There's times when I look at a challenge, I'll think outside the box. So I had a particular day, it wasn't that long ago, a month or two ago, when it seemed like everything was going wrong. Breakdowns, expenses. I think I even had an animal die that day. Had just a number of things going wrong. And you're beginning to think as you get into the afternoon, how am I going to win this day? Because even before you coined the phrase, I believed in the phrase.
Yeah.
And I believe that every day needs to be won. And if you want to feel good about yourself and you want others to feel good about you, you have to find a way to win something every day. And it can be very small and it can be your win, but you have to feel it has to be your win. And I was having one of those down days, like, this is just not working. I felt like I was jinxed. Everything that I touched, it wasn't going to go well. You get frustrated. You feel like you have that throw in the towel feeling. Everybody gets those. But over and above that, I want to win. So I thought outside of the box. And instead of tackling immediate problems that were on the farm, and there was no crisis, there was no fires burning, so to speak, the operation was going fine. And you know what I decided to do? I have a farmer friend who lives up the road from me about 3 miles, and we do a lot of operations back and forth. We work together and we help each other out, and each one knows that the other is only a phone call away.
Nice.
So we will bring, if needed, we would bring hundreds of thousands of dollars of resources to a problem, to the to help with a problem for the other. And I had this afternoon that's going bad, and I decided, you know what? I can't seem to be winning today, so I am going to get in my vehicle. I'm going to drive up to Glenn's, and I'm going to help Glenn win today. Okay. And what it did, it allowed me to back burner all those bad negative thoughts that I had. And again, nothing was really stressing. There was nothing I had to deal with in the moment. I was just getting in that grumbling, feeling sorry for yourself attitude, like nothing's going right, and I'm just, put that aside, jump in my vehicle, go up to my friend's place and say, What do you got going on? Where can I jump in on your team and help you win one today?
Goodness.
That's what
For everyone listening, that's a nugget right there. That is a nugget. Get out of your own space. Tom went, helped somebody, and helped them win the day.
And what I'm saying here is I'm not really just asking you to bleed out and sacrifice. I'm telling you that if you behave in that way and you go help your friend win the day, when you come back in the evening, you feel like a winner. You feel like you did the right thing.
And
it will empower you as well as helping your friend.
I love it. It's a great story. We've got Laura, who is my niece, and Tom's daughter, who chimed in and said, 2 men who are always winning the day. Great mindset, Tom, aka Dad. So thanks, Laura, for chiming in and sharing that. Well, I'd like to hear more about the process of providing grain and how all that came about at local distilleries. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Our father has always been the PR contact person for the farm, as you well know. So I kind of grew up with my head down or my seat on a tractor going, and Dad was our face man. So Dad has made a wealth of connections with people that have helped us in the networking process as years went on. And my father was involved in a church camp just over the mountain from us. And that's where he made contact with Kevin Lloyd, who was a man who decided he was going to start up a distillery.
Okay.
Right? So he's talking this over with Dad, and Dad's the kind of guy, he can just, jump into the subject with you and talk whatever you want to talk. Dad's very well versed in a lot of subjects. So they get to talking about what's going to be involved in a distillery. Well, that involves grain. Well, right away, Dad's light always goes on because Dad was good at looking for opportunities.
Right.
He's really good at looking for opportunities. Now, he was great in delegating. So he'd find an opportunity and say, hey, I bet Ted could do that. I bet Tom could do that. I bet Tim could do that.
Right.
So he was like a switchboard operator that would find people and connect us. So he started talking with Kevin Lloyd. Said, oh, you need grain. I know a guy with a grinder mixer and grain capacity.
Right.
And he comes home and talks to me about it. And that began the process of several meetings because we were still a year prior to his startup. So that gave us about a year to talk very specific logistics on expectations, prices, how I would go about this. He just wasn't going to jump in with me and say, hey, great, you can bring my grain. I had to make a commitment, and I had to show I was serious. And I had to, in multiple meetings, show that I wasn't going to get cold feet and back out of the deal.
Right.
Because he was starting up a $5 million investment, and he wanted to hit the ground running. So because our farm is as small as it is and the acreage is committed to cattle, I couldn't really pull that acreage and commit it to whiskey grain.
Right.
But I did have access to grain sources that allowed me to pull in raw grain into our farm and just run it through our processing facilities, which is what it amounts to is a grinder where you're pounding this grain to a near flour, maybe to a cornmeal consistency. And then I bag that in volumes that the whiskey plant can handle, and I deliver to them.
Wow.
That's a 25-mile trip to and from his place. But that relationship has been going on now for 6 years, and it's been a lucrative addition to the farm. I really give a lot of credit, though, to a relationship sale, too. In it, I got to know Kevin Lloyd really well. He's been super supportive in what we do for him and for the rest of Clouser Farm, and I think that really helped make it work. He's been very understanding about when we've had obstacles like weather or breakdowns, financial shortages, whatever happens. It's been a good relationship, and it's been great working with Kevin to be able to provide to that distillery. So right now we're producing about 4,500 pounds of grain every 10 days, with serious talks about increasing that to perhaps double that amount. But for now, we're looking at 2.25 tons that are going in every 10 days.
Well, Wow. Well, I love it. I mean, it's exciting. It's interesting. It's intriguing. I do want to be respectful of time, though. We have some more comments. I love the support. Brian Mills, as always, love your support. He said positivity is a choice, but it also might be in the genetics. And then my lovely daughter chimed in and said, two awesome guys right there. So we appreciate that, Alexis. Thanks for listening. Well, so we're at the end of the show, Tom. Just tell me, you've had a successful day. How do you personally unwind after winning the day?
Another tough one. That's tough. You hit me on two tough areas. How do you start and how do you unwind?
That's right.
Well, the guy that can't start also has trouble unwinding.
Okay. There you go.
So yeah, that's always been a challenge. If I can hold my schedule and get in at a decent time in the evening, and decent time, I'm saying like 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening where I come into the house, that gives me time to sit down and unwind. Usually I'll just do it with some television, a shower, a shot of whiskey.
There you go.
But it is tough. There's times it seems worse if I come in late. So if I have a challenging day that rolls into a challenging evening and I'm stumbling in at 10 o'clock at night, it's like I almost missed sleep time and I'm wide awake again, and I'll pound till 2 a.m. And I don't know if I have good answers for that.
That's okay.
Meds.
They're meds. There you go. Gosh. Well, I appreciate you taking time to be here. I appreciate everybody's flexibility on the feed. Caitlin, thanks for chiming in. Good morning to you as well. It's been almost 25 years since you have been here in person. So I'm going to drop off today, spend a little bit more time with my brother before he flies out. And I hope that you all have an amazing day. And on that note, go win the day every day.